Hey coaches, welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. Today we continue with having guest coaches come in. We had the one with Coach Clint Humphrey a few episodes back, and he broke down Army's offense for us. Well, now we've got Coach Cody Collett of the Prescott, Arizona Badgers, high school football coach out there in the heart of Arizona, and he is come here today, going to break down how they run their G lead, and it's some great stuff. You can see the diagram here in the title card, and he just goes into great detail in the Coach Chip fashion and breaks down how they do it. It's got great video clips, some diagrams, and I'm just excited to do it. We're going to start doing this more often. I owe Coach Humphrey a big debt of gratitude for giving me this idea or inspiring this idea in my brain. And this is good stuff. It's about an hour solid it's just a mini clinic on running the G lead. And he shows you how you can run it from under center, how they did it for years, and how now they're doing it from gun, and just some really unique ways of reinventing an old scheme that now has made its way. He's been doing it for years, but this past year, we saw it in a lot of college football games. Ohio State, the national champions, used it a lot in their short yardage package. And there's some others that have done it as well. All right, before we get going, we got to do a few commercials. Having a system is important, coaches. It's essential. You've got to have an offensive system or a defensive system, but I'm not selling a defensive system. I'm selling the Gun Power Spread System Manual. Hit me up at seagle.chip at gmail.com and get your copy today. I'll send it to you on a trial basis. You can't beat that, y'all. It's like going to a car lot. You're not going to buy a car if you've never test driven it. Same way it should be with your football resources. So hit me up at seagle.chip at gmail.com. See how you can get your hands on the Gun Power Spread System Manual today. And the offensive line manual for gap down backer blocking, unleashing the power of angles and leverage. It's now available in paperback form on Amazon. And this is the same, not the same, I've added to it and I tweaked it. The one that came out a couple of years ago that I've been selling as an ebook, I converted it to a paperback, got it on Amazon. It's almost 150 pages in deep detail of how we ran the gap down backer blocking scheme for years at several of my stops along the way. And it covers it from soup to nuts. We get into detail. It's got drills, it's got diagrams, and it's got so many video clips showing you drills, showing you how it worked at practice, showing you how it worked in games on Friday night. And it's a system that can be used from the NFL all the way down to your youth league teams. And I show you clips. There's NFL teams that are doing it and junior high teams doing it. And speaking of clips, I added 15 new clips that I created that I thought better taught some of the schemes and some of the concepts in the O-line manual. Well, I didn't want to cheat the guys who had already bought the ebook, so I went back and I upgraded the ebook. So if you've bought the ebook, no need to buy the paperback unless you just like having a book in your hand, something you can write in and you can highlight in. I understand that completely. So if you've bought the ebook, hit me up and I will send you another version of it. And I went in and I updated it. This would be a great opportunity for y'all to help me out. Go look at the ebook that you bought from me and see toward the end, there's another page that should have 15 video links to 15 unlisted videos on the YouTube channel that you can only get them if you have that link. They're not public, they're unlisted, which means if I share the link with you, then you can access it. Well, I've shared the link in the ebook, so it's the same thing. Now, in the paperback, of course, the links are QR codes where you just scan your device over the QR code and it goes straight to the video. So that's a really good thing. So get your copy today, written by a 40-year high school coaching veteran who used GDB, talking about me, for most, if not all, of his career. All right, right now it's time to subscribe to the channel. If you're watching this and you're not a subscriber, if this is not your first go around with Football Talk with Coach Chip, what's wrong with you? What ails you? Subscribe to it. You got fear of commitment issues or something. I feel sorry for your spouse. Come on now. Get over that. Subscribe today to Football Talk with Coach Chip. It doesn't do anything to you. All it does is help me in some way. I don't know, but it helps me. And we're trying to get that subscription number up to 4,000. Come on and help a dude out. All right, don't forget our podcast, Football Talk with Coach Chip, the podcast. That's how Coach Colette and I hooked up. I had him on the podcast a few episodes back. Matter of fact, the episode that just aired, episode 43, is the one with Coach Colette. He got to talking about this G Lead scheme, and then I got the wild idea after doing that video series with Coach Humphrey on the Army offense. Why don't get Coach Colette to come on and show us his G Lead? It's something that I haven't done. I ran the G scheme when we were under center wing T with the down block. We called it the down play with the fullback, but no lead. So this was something new to me, and it's Coach Colette just does a great job. It's about to get started, I promise. Take it away, Coach. Hey, coaches. Welcome back to Football Talk with Coach Chip. Y'all don't recognize him, but you may recognize his voice in a little bit when he starts talking. We've got Coach Cody Collett, the head coach of the Prescott High School Badgers in Arizona. And we had our, it just aired yesterday as we speak now, Coach Colette, your podcast episode on Football Talk with Coach Chip, the podcast. And we got into, like we do usually toward the end of the conversation, we talk a little X's and O's. And we got talking about Coach Colette's G Lead. Well, it really sparked my curiosity. And we did the Army offense with the coach a while back, and that worked out pretty well. And it seemed to be popular enough with the coaches that subscribed to Football Talk with Coach Chip. And I thought, you know what? We got to do this with Coach Colette. And so that's what we're doing today. So Coach Colette, Cody Collett, is going to walk us through his G Lead, kind of like I do a mini clinic for us. We thank him so much for by the way, last time we talked, Coach, you were 2 hours behind me. And now a few weeks later, you're 3 hours behind me.
Us Arizonans, we don't do daylight savings time. So we're on Mountain sometime and Pacific other times of the year. Sorry about the bell. The bell's about to ring to start first hour. But
not to get political, but y'all have a history of that with such guys as John McCain and Barry Goldwater, two famous senators from the great state of Arizona. Arizona is a unique place, and I don't mean that in a negative at all. They're going to, as Fleetwood Mac said, go their own way. Yeah. And rest of the world be damned. Arizona's going to do it the Arizona way.
Well, we have a little bit of that maverick spirit in the state, definitely. But I am a fourth generation, and my daughters are fifth generation Arizonans on my mom's side. So we've been here quite a while.
And it's just, and the thing is, it was one of the last states.
Yeah.
I mean, what year was it? Like 1912 or something?
Valentine's Day, 1912. Arizona became a state, and Prescott's actually been playing football since 1910.
Yeah, you said that in the podcast that y'all actually beat what became Arizona State.
Yeah, we did. Yeah, 1914. Our site that we talked about the last time has every team's games and through all the years. I love it. It doesn't have the Alabama site's better because it has all the head coaches' records you can look up.
Yeah.
But the Arizona one is pretty cool too.
All right, Coach, let's get going with some X's and O's because you and I, folks don't know this, but we just got through talking for about 15, 20 minutes before I clicked record and just talking about everything. And Coach Colette has became one of my best internet friends. So we'll just
I love talking to you, Coach.
And so we're going to talk about the G Lead. All right, take over, Coach.
Okay, so G Lead is a play, and I wish that I had the footage from, because we've coached it at every school, run it at every school I've been at. I was a offensive coordinator at Dobson, went to Red Mountain, Post and Butte, who you'll see on this film, and then, of course, 11 years as the head coach here at Prescott. We've run it everywhere, and the thing we've always liked about it, it's actually, get back to my dad playing at Arizona State, Coach Cush used to run this, and it was 32G, they called it. old 3-back, I guess, I think it was 34 G, where you're going to get 2 down blocks and a kick out. And it's very, very similar. I call it a cousin to what I call our down scheme. What we would call down scheme is what most people would refer to as just your basic gap plays, power and counter. The thing I really like about G in relation to those, I think it's a good complement because I think it hits a little bit quicker. There's a couple things we do. For example, a lot of the times we won't backside hinge on the G play because it hits fast enough that guy won't be able to be a factor. Whereas on power and counter, it takes a little bit longer to develop. So it takes a little bit while to get over there. So I'm going to go through some of this, and I got to move this over here. And let me go back. Oh, dang it. Let me go back here. I am not super tech savvy, so my apologies. But anyhow, as it says, the G play is closely related to our down scheme. The Y and the play side tackle have the exact same rules. They're gap down backer. And prior to listening to Coach Chip and reading his materials, we've always taught it as gap down backer. But to be honest, I taught it a little differently. It was if there's somebody in your inside gap, you're taking them. If there's not, is there somebody on your buddy? If not, you're going to find a way to get to a linebacker. That could be a straight down block on your tracks, or it could be a combo block. So I guess I've taught it a little bit different. This is our G play out of the I formation. And one of the things I find interesting about it is that you're going to see that kind of evolution of our G play. I have it from the early years we ran it here at Prescott. I have it from the years at Post and Butte. And most of the time in all of those years, it was a basic I formation play. It was a 2-back running play. We get the tight end down. This is the preferred front to run it. One of the negatives, I guess I would say, of it is harder if you don't have a center. Your center needs to be able to handle the nose, where on power and counter, you can get those doubles if you have to, or block backs, and you can use those angles. You get the angles from the tight end and tackle. The center, if you have a war daddy at nose, it can be a play that kind of comes out of the game plan on certain things. So that's a little bit of a negative on it. But anything other than that, I've just always loved this football play. We're getting tight end right now, gap down backer. He's going to be here. We actually we combine them with 2 plays. All right. These guys on the play side are really doing the exact same thing they would do on power and counter. There is a difference. We go to what we call, if there is a combo, we'll go to the fish, which is the term we use for the front side inside backer. Whereas on power and counter, we'll head over to the biscuit, which is the backside inside linebacker. So tight end tackle down. All right. Play side guard is pulling to kick. He should obviously make right shoulder contact there. Fullback's going to lead up here. Just like we talk about on power and counter, we're always going to leave 2 on G. We're going to have 1 to kick and 1 to lead up on. So it's a play that, like I said, has been very good to us through the years. And here's a couple other little variants. The same thing against odd stack. Coach, I think it was you that said there's 4 types of defenses. You got odd split, odd stack, even split. And everything else fits into one of those families. So this is the center comes up. And the reason we say that, and we talk to our guys about this, the reason we say that is because it tells us if there's a combo, where the combo is going to. In any stack type of defense, most time the combo is going to go to the mic because we're going to leave 2, 1 to kick and 1 to lead up on. So that's why we use that term. This is against an odd stack here. So we're going gap down backer, but we're going to get a combo block here, and we're going to try to get up to the mic. Backside of this is really running outside zone that way. So they're going to stretch it this way. And how we teach that, the center would be doing what we're calling his first step. We don't really coach. His first step is based on what he's got to do to get his second step, which in this case is his right foot, to split the crotch, get his knee through the crotch and backside hand through the sternum. This guy is what we call, he has a 3-step decision. So he's 1, 2, 3. By that third step, he's got to know whether he's going to call over, and push this guy up, likely to cut off the will who's flowing this way, or he's going to snap and find work up here. But same thing, we're kicking out. We're leading up with the fullback and we are good to go there. So,
okay, so you're scooping from the center back, correct?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Exactly.
So the center's responsible for A side gap, backside guards got backside A. Now on your backside tackle, is he gap hinging or is he scooping the B gap?
A lot of times we won't gap hinge him. Occasionally, if we got a guy we feel like can make it an issue, sometimes we'll smart split him and have him get a little bigger split, and then it hits fast enough that it doesn't really matter. That backside end, we don't have to block him, and we can get a guy up to the next level. This is a little bit of an example of how we started to evolve the play, started running it a little more out of quarterback run here, where we get some jet motion, fly this guy in jet. And a lot of times you see this where you got, power going this way of the jet and you got the counter coming back the other way. I like this because it gets jet action, and I feel like it hits quicker than, say, if you had this guy offset and you're running counter back the other way. We do this same type of thing with power, but one of the main reasons I like G a lot, and it's been one of our higher average play. Like I said, we would run power and counter in some variation probably 12, 14 times a game. G would only, for example, in 2022, we ran G 40 times in a 12-game season. So you do the math, that's, almost 3.33 a game. So it wasn't a play we ran all the time, but in those 40 snaps, we gained 400 yards. So you can do the math on that. That's a pretty good average for us on that play. So it sounds a little different, but it was a kind of a compliment to the power and counter because I think it hits quick. I think it's really good against teams that are trying to spill you, because power counter, it's almost kind of sacrilege. You want to hit that thing inside the hash. It just looks prettiest, I think. Whereas G can a lot of times have a pin and pull-esque effect where you end up outside on the edges a lot of times on the G, which is something I kind of like about it because, like I said, a lot of high school running backs, especially the ones that were really good in youth ball, they look to bounce a lot of times. You got to really coach them out of that. But the G play is one where you occasionally can get a good bounce and it doesn't end up hurting you.
Well, okay, so I love what you did there, though. You turned the G into a counter without having to use counter. So you got a quicker hitting counter because you're using the jet. That's another reason why I love jet so much.
That's wonderful. Because
you can take a basic play like a G scheme or a power scheme and make it a counter by using the jet motion. And that was brilliant right there. And the other thing, when you were talking about how quick it hit, I had a flashback, and we were under center wing T. We taught it very similar to our old split back veer days with the outside veer, because the aiming point was very similar.
Very much so.
And when you were talking about how it could bounce so easily, and it's not an issue like it would be on power or counter to bounce, it's almost like the old outside veer where you see that thing checking it, like it just chinks out, out based on what the defense does. Now, when you said how quick it hits, the guard goes first, and then the lead blocker kind of hugs the rump line of the double teams or the down.
Exactly. And we'll run it out of offset, like where we had a second ago, where we had the fullback offset. It's really important coaching point that he takes a step with his inside foot, because if he doesn't, he'll beat the guard there, and you'll have the play is kind of doomed from the get-go. So it's really important that he takes that inside step and lets the guard clear. In the I formation, it's not a factor because the left guard here who's pulling is a little bit further over, so it's not a factor. He can just step right to it, and we're fine. And like I said, these early clips, and most of them for 10, 12 years, you're going to see is two-back formations. And then Coach Joe Kirsting, who I was really fortunate to lure out of retirement, he was a longtime coach at Glendale Community College, won multiple national championships. He's in his late 60s. I think he just turned 70 now. He coached with us for 3 seasons, and this is just an example of what a selfless guy is. This guy had won multiple national titles, coached at U of A, coached at Arizona Christian, coached at NAU, a number of different places. He really evolved the system that I wanted to fit some of the things he was doing, but we kind of merged the two together, and he ended up he had never been a G guy, never been an inside zone guy as most of his career, outside zone, inside zone, power counter, a lot of jet out of under center. they used to, but Jeeb ended up becoming one of his favorite plays here. And he evolved it into where we started running it out of empty. We started running it out of some single back. We did a lot of stuff there that we started adding. These early clips are going to be mostly, like I said, against in the I formation or offset I or the pistol with a fullback type deal. But I think we evolved it and ended up doing some pretty neat things with it in the later years.
Oh, that pro eye is making me tingle a little bit inside right now, Coach.
Yeah, I was an I formation guy for a long time. All right. So this is against I believe these guys are playing 4 eyes because we don't get a tray here. We get the tight end climbing right now. Okay, we get a kick out, not played very well by the safety, and we cut back, have a good-looking football play there, and we'll take that. Nice little gain of 17 there. Again, I think it hits really fast. We dress it up with motion, different things like that. Okay, we end up with, again, the tight ends climbing right now. The tackle, pretty good down block. Tight ends climbing to our fish. We get a pull kick, and we're leading up here with the fullback. This one ends up being a really nice cut by this running back who ended up being our all-time leader in rushing yards. This was him as a sophomore. But these guys are a really, really good football team. This is against Desert Edge, who has probably had the most Division I kids in Arizona for a while. And I love our guys. We have great kids at Prescott. They play hard. But if you're looking up front, the other thing I really like about the G play is you don't have to dominate anybody. I would even say on the backside, you can lose as long as you lose gracefully, because if you just don't get destroyed, you're going to be okay. This kid was a Division I kid, so we don't do it very well here. We don't get the guard up. We're typically on the backside just going to tell him, hey, get in the way. You get driven 2 yards back, but he doesn't throw you completely out of the way. It'll still be fine. We were a little worried about this guy, so we did a little backside wrap here, a little backside what we would call Gus, which means guard you step, where the center's going to block back on this guy. Guard gets caught up. We didn't do it well enough, but the intention would be to block back with this guy, the guard to wrap to end up on this guy. We got a 7 technique here, so we get down block, and we end up kicking this. This is what I would call even split Sam walk. So we got the Sams kind of walking up here in this situation, but really good football team, and you don't have to dominate here. You know, we hit this quick and get it underneath there, and we're off to a pretty good football play.
We used to do that. We used to do that wrap versus 2 eyes and ones. Yeah. And we do it on belly, and we did it on the G, on the down. Yeah. I like that.
I think it's good stuff here. This is I believe this is some old school Buddy Ryan type of front here. They're playing, they got the TNT look, center, both guards covered. They got the walk-up guy, head up on the tight end, and then an edge player here. I think G's a really, really good play against this, as a matter of fact. We get a down block here. We get the tight end. It really looks more like a base block or a drive block. We end up kicking here, and we're coming out here. We actually get because it hits quick enough, the backside tackle, this kid's in a 3, tries to get just a little piece of him, and we try to get the guard up to the backside linebacker, which I don't think you can do in a lot of other cases, but I do think you can do it on G if this ever wants to load and go here.
There we go.
Again, a lot of different ways to kind of dress it up. Okay, good kick, good lead. And we end up with a pretty good football play.
Man, that's good old power football right there, Coach Colette.
I enjoy it. I enjoy it here. This is it against an even front here. And again, we get the 7 technique. We'll talk about, because we drill this and we don't do it very well here. But if we get a 7 technique, what we want to have happen is we want this guard to come tight to his butt, take the first thing he sees, and then the fullback to be out here and takes the next thing. So a lot of times, if this guy's out of there, it'll end up the guard on this linebacker flowing and the fullback on this guy. Doesn't turn out that way this time, but that's what we'll do a lot of drills with. We want to end up with 2-on-2. We don't end up with it that great there, but we still have a successful play. Bounces outside here. This is before we got turf, my first year here in 2012. This is a really good football play against a odd split defense. Again, we get the tight end. This guy blitzes right now. Tight end picks him up. Guard gets to this backside backer. Good kick. We end up with the fullback all the way on the the strong safety coming down here. Boom, good cut, and we're good to go here. All right.
I love the angle. I love the angle. Like I said, it's like an old veer angle that that was a good shot. You could see the tailback hitting that angle.
I agree. And we used to run it with the fullback. We do it with the fullback a little bit. It doesn't get the lead component. Like when we started to do it out of a single back and spread out a little bit, it doesn't get that lead component. So there's a couple things we did that ended up making it a little bit more effective that I'll get to a little bit later. Here it is in the old I formation stuff. Boom, kick. This kid, he ended up being a top 10 rush. He'd always get a cramp. But anyhow, he ended up being a top 10 rusher at South Dakota State. His daddy was the mayor, really good man, just a great, great family, and a stud. He runs a sports performance place in town now and actually works with some of our guys, so it's kind of a cool deal. And this is a really good example. This would be, and it ends up being a touchdown, a long touchdown run here, but this is kind of what I'm talking about here. So we get down block. This guy lines up inside. The guard does it really nice here. He's tight to the tight end. He should be here. What I'd like to see is the fullback out here, and then we'll stick it in here. But it's hard to argue what the fullback did. The guard ends up on this backer. The fullback still has a crease, gets north and south. The tailback looked like he wanted to bounce it and said, well, hey, heck, the fullback made it through here, so I'm going to too. And obviously it helps that he can scoot a little bit. So
that's something that you teach. If you're kicking and you get there and there's nothing to kick, turn up.
Exactly. Tight off that down block, turn up right now.
Yeah. Don't kick air. Turn up. Yeah.
100%. We don't want to kick air. We want to get up there and get into what we can there to that next level. Because we started to see teams try to do that because they'd get kicked out and we'd be going north and south vertical pretty quickly, and they didn't want to have that going on. Same type of deal here.
Yeah.
Again, ends up kind of outside here. And, this kid's a good football player, obviously. There's nothing you can do scheme-wise if you don't have some good football players. Here's an example of us running it out of two tight ends. And like I said, this is actually our running back, and this is what I call devil, what a lot of people call wildcat. I'm not sure if this is the one where he looks. I believe this kid was an absolute stud. So I think these guys are going to end up turning here. Nope, I guess not. They might have already done it. But we started checking it away from him because we liked it out of two tight ends because we could run it both ways. The other thing here is the fullback doesn't have to be offset to the side you're running it to. We could easily run it back this way, and then it's almost like hits slightly slower, but it's still pretty quick. You still end up with, if you're running G to the right here, the play side guard kicking and this fullback coming from here. And it ends up being a pretty effective play that way. But here it is, and this was a mud bowl against our rivals long before we had turf there. Kind of finds that back door, ends up breaking it for a big touchdown. I think that clinched it for us in that one. And here's an example of us using it with this jet motion. Okay. And again, all of these are this is not exactly against run friendly boxes. All these clips we've shown are against really good, lot of guys in the line of scrimmage here. And obviously anytime we put the tailback here, I'll be honest, that's always one that's funny. People come to me, Coach, when you put the tailback there, most of the time it's a run. And I was like, yep. And it's averaging 8 yards a carry. So I'm not that smart, but I'm going to keep running it. So,
I had a guy tell me one time something like that. And I said, really? That makes two of us? Because I knew we were doing it too. So.
Exactly. So we get a good kick here, good play against a big, heavy box there, and end up with another pretty successful football play. See here against two tight ends, I formation.
It's so quick. It's on them and almost like a trap. We talked about it in the podcast.
It's very much so. It's very much like a trap. And I'm going to get into, this is it. And I'll fast forward through a couple of these early ones here because these are plays you've already seen. So I'll get to a few more of the other ones. But like I said, these early years, there's a ton. This is, I'm sorry about that sound. I got to figure out how to get that off there. But this is an example of one we started to do where we would end up running a bubble out here. So we would bubble and we'd read this alley player. If he stuck around on the bubble, quarterback was going to carry the ball. If he drifted in, he had the option to throw the bubble. This kid was a little bit kind of Tebow-esque. He was going to run the ball. There was probably
he looks big. He's a pretty good size high school.
Yeah, well, he's 24, which you don't see. Not 24 years of age. He's number 24. Let's go back here.
There we go.
Another little I formation against what I would 6'2" type of box there. Good kick out, good lead up. And again, not exactly a speedster at running back, but running downhill can hit it pretty quick here. Another example of it out of 2 tight ends. That is one thing you can get into because it's a play that really needs to be run to the tight end. If it's not run to the tight end, it's a cross block, which is why we started doing it. I'm going to show you what we did later on that I really, really like. We had kind of 2 wing tight ends, and we could run it either way. This is
a great example of what you were talking about, how it bounced.
Yep.
And it's conducive to the bounce.
It very much is. I think the angle is more conducive to it than some of the other gap scheme stuff you'll see. That kid was a very talented running back too. He always did a nice job bouncing stuff.
Well, Paul Brown said the best play in football is the one that goes straight ahead. He said the second best play in football is the one that goes almost straight ahead. This is the one that goes almost ahead, but it goes so quick. It's not a gap power. It's not as downhill as that, but
no, definitely not.
It's quicker.
It's been one of my favorite plays for a long time. Of course, little X over set here, which I love, unbalanced sets. Move a guy out of the box here. We used to do a lot of that. Don't do it as much anymore. Again, kind of bounced it outside here. Ends up with a pretty successful play. Same type of deal here. I think we end up kicking out here. Yep. Yeah. Good cut.
Yeah, little bitty guard that time, Coach.
Yeah. That was one of the reasons I liked it too, is we never were huge up front. My first year at Prescott, our heaviest offensive lineman was 210 pounds. The rest of the offensive line was 190, 185, 175, 180. So it was really – we went uber fast because we're at Mile High. So if we would play a valley school, they would start sucking wind, and that would really be to our advantage. So that was something we did here. That one got cut off a little bit. Oh, I love that little jump cut there. Good cut, and he gets in the end zone here. I'm going to fast forward, get to a few of these. Like I said, there's a lot of years we've run this play. So it's always – and it's a great play. It's a play you'll see on the goal line you won't see it in the middle of the field a lot, but you will see it on the goal line. I saw Arizona State run it. You sent me a great clip of Alabama running it. It's a play you'll see on the goal line a lot. I know Bill Belichick, when they were at the Patriots, they would run some lead G on the goal line. And I think because you get those down blocks and you get those different fronts, everybody's stepping down, that you'll be okay there. Good run. And he gets into the end zone.
Chip Kelly did it this past season, 24 season on the goal line.
He did. He did it with some quarterback runs too, if I remember correctly.
He did. Because I remember whoever was talking about it, talking about here's some old school right here.
Yeah, there's definitely some of that. I'm going to try to get here. Oh, this is a decent little example. Just a little window dressing here. We're offset. I love the snap point here because as these guys are looking, we end up holding 2 or 3 guys on the backside here with the jet fake, and it's out of 2 back. So we still keep our lead back. We get a kick out, and we held those guys on the backside. There's at least 2 guys we held on the backside with that. And again, most of these are against boxes that are pretty heavy boxes. This guy's way offsides. Probably
that defensive end's in the backfield.
Yeah, he's offsides there. They probably should have called that one.
It got him. All it did was get him kicked out quicker, Coach.
It did, exactly. So another example of it with jet motion here. This one is coming to the jet. Okay, ideally, sometimes that can influence this guy to get kicked out. And we're here and in a good position to run that play. So love a lot of different ways to package it. It does have to be run to a tight end, but there's different ways to get there when you're doing that. All of these are against two-back. I'm excited to show you some of the stuff we did where it wasn't necessarily in the two-back stuff here, because we did later on get to a few more things where it wasn't necessarily two-back. This is it. We talked about this, and I think it cuts a little late, but this is our devil package. We're in two tight ends here. Really good if you can see 79, the left guard. I love how tight he is to these down blocks on the kickout. Does a nice
downhill too. He crosses the line. I love it.
Exactly. Yeah, that's what we do teach that. We try to get inside out on those. This kid was a talented player too, and we get out of there. This is an example of it being run not to the fullback. So we'll run it back over here, and it ends up hitting just as well here to the backside.
He doesn't have to take that jab step.
Nope, he can just get going. And he didn't do a very good job blocking anybody there, but he can get going and get in there quick. I think we already saw a couple of these. So I'm going to go to, let's see where we're at here. A few more of this. And I'll get to a few at the bottom of these clips here. This is it out of what we call devil. As you can see, devil left. Don't call things blue and red anymore, but this is it off of the jet here with the quarterback running it. And we end up inside here with the nice job here. Put the ball on the ground, unfortunately, but I think we got it back.
Good job by your fullback showing the onside that time. He did the little jab step because he was
exactly. Yep, and you see it here a little bit. He does the jab step here, ends up in there, leading up. Good cut here. This particular game, I think these guys hadn't lost a league game in a couple of years, and they hadn't lost a game at home in quite a while. And this is an overtime, so we score here. It's over. And we get in, so that's why you'll see us, the stands start to empty out a little bit. This guy running on the field here, his little brother was on the team, and he was on the team before, so he's pretty excited running on the field there. We hadn't beat him in a while.
High school football, baby.
Exactly. Here's an example of us running it out of single back. So here's some of the tweaks we started to do with it. So this is a tray formation, tight end trips here, moving that outside backer, dog safety, whatever you want to call it, in the 3-3, if it wants to show it. And we get out there, the guard gets out there and there's nobody to kick. So he ends up tight off of it. Okay. And boom, we're right there with a good positive football play. That's some of the stuff we started doing with it. Here it is again with fly motion. Okay, jet motion. Boom, fullback, tailback ends up bouncing it. Good looking football play. And he's headed out the gate there. So we started to do some different things with it. Like I said, there's still some other things here that I think you'll see that I think were kind of cool with some of the tweaks and adjustments we made with it. Again, running it away from the fullback here, which did seem to mess with some teams. And all of these, I would say, are boxes we're getting a ton of blitzes. This is a great job by the center here because this guy walks up to blitz the A gap. The center reaches and takes them, and the backside guard reaches and ends up taking another blitzer there. So
that was awesome. That was good scooping right there.
It was good stuff there. Yeah, good stuff there. And I don't know why we're allowed to be on the 5-yard line. I think it was COVID, so they told you could be anywhere on the sideline that year for whatever reason. So there wasn't like a box like there normally is. But again, running it away from the tight end, away from the fullback. This was 3rd and 2, end of the ball game. We're up by 1 here. We got to get a first down to kind of put it away. And actually, I was yelling about this because I wanted him to fall down after he got the first down, but he did not do that. Fortunately, we ended up winning the game by 8, 43-35. But again, a box that you're going to see. I mean, they got everybody up here. It's a 10-man box. Boom, kick, wrap, hits quick, and he's out the gate. Good night, Irene there. Put the ball game away. I was screaming here at this point, fall down, fall down, fall down. But that's my fault because I didn't coach it well enough. on that particular thing. We're going to go to, I'm going to go to, this is 22 when we started running it. The last one here is 21. And then we'll show a couple other clips here of it and some of the variations we started to do with it. This is it again, out of one back, out of that tight end trips. We're going to get a down block here. The guard comes out, ends up leading. We still end up with what we would end up out of two backs. We end up with the guard on one of these backers. Instead of the fullback being on this other guy, we moved him out with the formation, and we knew they would do that. So it ended up being a pretty good play. Okay, so we still end up there. Good run by the tailback here. That's in a state playoff game against our rival. That was a packed house that night because they had beaten us for the region championship 2 weeks before, and then we drew them in the first round. We had a better schedule, so we got the home game and we got them back, which was nice. It's always – anytime you're in – as you know, Coach, you're in a small town, you lose the rivalry game. It's not fun. You don't want to do that. But anyhow, so it was good to get them back that year. This is where some of the creativity Coach Kirsting brought with us that I really love the way we started running this. So we're in here a two tight end formation where they're both in those wing alignments or those what we call hip alignments. All right. And we would end up with short motion. If it was short motion from the F, it would be faux. If it was short motion, we wanted to run it with the Y, we'd call yo here, and we would run it to that direction. A lot of times we'd even have the quarterback check because we wanted to run it to the 3 technique to give us a good angle for the down block. So a lot of times we would do that here. But the thing I like about this is now they can't really be geared up on which side it's going to because we'll run it to both sides. So The other thing that I love about this is with this short motion, if you motion this guy all the way across, you can see how fast it gets snapped. The quarterback's coach to be ready, go blue. That's the snap count because we want him to literally have taken just 2 little shuffles and then it's going. And the reason I like that is it's very difficult for the defense to make an adjustment. They can a lot of times, if you motion this guy all the way across, they can roll a safety, they can bump the backers. When it's this quick, I found it to be very, very difficult for them to make any kind of adjustment here on the play. We get a good kick. Fullback actually should have ended up on this guy, but like you've talked about before, he just takes himself out of the play, so we end up cutting it up, and we don't have to block him.
Oh, he's outside the cut. He's irrelevant. I mean, outside the kick. You're outside the kick, you're irrelevant. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, and I've heard you talk about that, and I started talking to our guys about that, and you'll see the end zone copy of this, and I think it'll give you a good idea of how quick the ball gets snapped.
I love that motion. They can't adjust to that. They can't do it. It's boom.
It's right now, which with that, again, I can't take any credit for that. And this is an example of the play still being successful. This kid ended up walking on at Arizona State, and quite frankly, he hucks our down block here. But the tailback does a good job hugging it and inside. But my point is, it doesn't have to be something where you dominate here. All right? You get inside, and we still got a good play. This kid walked on. I don't know with it being 105 now that he'll get to do it, but crazy story. He's at USC as a student on a full ride, like a 4.5 kid, just an amazing kid. They got him out of the classroom, and he ended up being a walk-on at SC and played on their scout team all this year, got to dress for the bowl game and everything else.
Wow.
That tailback. But you can see down block, he gets shucked out of the way, but we still end up hitting it, and it's still a successful play. This is the base way we'll run it now. We don't even run it out of the I formation anymore. We'll run it out of this, and we'll give the quarterback the option. He'll tell us which way we're going to run it. We coach him up on a couple specifics, and then he calls the play. We're in what we call shoot the bear here. Shoot the bear is where we're taking every second because we have the lead here late in the game. And I got that Bruce Snyder, the late Bruce Snyder, used to call ASU's 4-minute drill kill the cat. Bradshaw Mountain Bears are our rivals, so our 4-minute offense is shoot the bear. So we're in shoot the bear here, and if it wants to let us run it, this kid's way outside here. He ended up actually, I think, partial scholarship or walked on to BYU, but we end up kicking him, kind of loading here, having some issues, and we end up having a good play here for a good gain of 11. But we'll move on here if it's going to keep loading here, and this is it. This is it from the end zone copy. Incidentally, I don't know if you ever looked up the Ferris State snap technique.
Yes.
But I couldn't get this kid to snap it the way I wanted. We switched him to that Ferris State technique, and we never had an issue the rest of the year. It is a little bit slower that way.
Yeah, that's the old school single wing way of doing it, I think.
Is it? No kidding. Well, good.
Yeah.
Even more stuff I've learned here.
Dude, I've got about 1,000 Ferris clips on my computer.
Do you? I love their stuff. They do such a good job with so many things.
I've been trying to get him on the podcast, but I can't get him.
Oh man, if he's on that would be awesome. That would be he's a great speaker. I've seen him speak at Glacier a few times. I want to get to just a couple more here, Coach, because there is a few empty clips. This is all out of the motion we ran. This is another way out of single back that we started doing it. We'll run it off a jet where we end up with this guy being the lead blocker. So he's jet motioning, ball gets snapped at the imaginary tight end. We got down block, we got pull kick, and then he ends up leading. Has to be a good athlete because it's definitely not something that's super easy, but he does a nice job here, and we end up running the same thing. So we got to the point where we were a lot more multiple with it, and this is another example out of it here. Oh, there we got a kind of fumble in the backfield there, but I think the quarterback ends up with this late in the game. We're up pretty big, and somehow we end up with a good gain out of this. I'm not sure how, but anyhow, he pops that out there here. I want to get to just one or two of these empty formations that we started to run it out of. So we're in empty here. We got tight end Trey over here, tight end trips. We got Trey over here. We got twins over here, and then we're going to motion this guy in to the backfield, down block, and we end up with the motion guy end up leading it. Again, this kid, one of my favorite kids, he was a basketball kid, 175 pounds, but just really good technique, always played with a good base and good foot drive. Guard is tight off this. So what we end up here is we got guard, we got the motion guy coming, we got two guys. As long as they sort it out, all right, and we end up with a body on a body, we'll be okay here. Guard did a nice job. Running back, this guy sees him. He sees him a little late, and we end up getting tripped up here, but still a pretty good football play there, 6-yard gain, and it's out of an empty formation. So they have to have a little bit of respect for the fact that you're spreading the field a little bit here. Another example of it, and we cut it up. Motion guy didn't do a great job there, but still ends up being a successful football play. And here it is again with the jet motion, not out of empty because we had the tailback deep there, not running it with the quarterback, but another really good football play. A lot of different ways to do it. Doesn't have to be just out of the I formation. And like I said, I can't take credit for that because I, for 10 years, just ran it one way. And Coach Kirsten got to us, and he coached us up on a lot of different ways to do it. Sorry, I'm going to go to this last clip here if I can find it. All right, this is a pretty good one here. All right, against this little different front here. Again, this is an example of this guy's outside the kick. They're coming off the edge here, but we kick one guy out, one guy drops in, and this guy could run a little bit, and he busts it out there for a long touchdown run. But like I said, we've run this play for a whole lot of years. It's always been a really, really successful football play for us. And it's one that one of the things I like about it, like I've beaten to death here, is it hits just a little bit quicker. It's not a play that we're going to run as much as power counter, but it's a play that's been really, really good to us through the years. And hopefully you got something out of it. You got any questions or anything, please feel free to ask away. Or if anybody has any questions, you can always hit me up. I'd be happy to answer them any way I can. A stolen football play like them all, but one that 20-something years we've run that play, and it's been very high average for us every season.
I think every play that could be invented has been invented, Coach, and now we just got new ways to deliver it.
I agree completely. And
you've done that with this, with the old school lead, which the G lead. You know, my experience with it was using it when I was a wing T coach and running the old fullback down without the lead. You know, you were talking about. Now, we would cheat if teams, sometimes we would fold our wing back, and that worked as well, but the way you do it is great. I got one question for you, and you alluded to it early on. What do you do? You said there were some formations, they just kind of scheme you out of it. If you had a 1 or a 2-eye to the play side. Now, a 1, if you got a dude at center, he can reach him. But a 2-eye is tough. Explain, what would you do?
We call it right there. If we get that, we say we want you guys to pop them like a zit. So what ends up happening is we're going to get a down block from the tackle, a reach from the center, and we're going to pretend he's a pimple, and we're popping him on our nose right here and trying to get a little piece of him. Now, we lose a guy up to the next level to a backer, so that can definitely be a problem. That's one of the ones when we got in that formation where we had the 2 hips, where if we had that to the play, why we would tell the quarterback, we want you to check this to the 3. We don't hardly ever see 2 1s or 2 eyes because we don't run a lot of trap or things like that. So then when the quarterback came to the line of scrimmage, he would go the 3s here. And if the quarterback had trouble, we'd have him turn and tell us, hey, this meant the 3 techniques on the right. We'd signal the play. If he held up one arm, it meant the 3 technique was on the left, and we would check it the other way. But so we had some ways to do that. But if we got it, had to get it called, we were going to try to pop him like a pimple almost.
You said that. I like that. I called it T-boning him.
Gosh.
I tell the center, I said, just get on him. I said, try to reach him, but just know your tackle's coming. And we would T-bone him just like you'd T-bone a car in an intersection. And our tackles rule became we didn't gap down backer on this. We told him his rule was first D lineman inside. So basically, the tackle was never going to climb the backer because he was either going to be on a 4-eye, a 3, a 2, or blocking all the way down to a 2-eye or a 1. And for those out there talking about 2 eyes and 1s, what I call a 2-eye is I know you know, Coach, but the inside shoulder of the guard, and the 1 is the shaded shoulder of the center. So it's an A-gap. It's an A-gap D lineman, and you got to account for that because when we were doing a lot of down and a lot of buck, teams were giving us those underfronts, trying to mess with us, and we had to come up with answers for that. And but your answer is exactly what I would do. I'm trying to think, but I like it because you ran it against that bear front, the TNT, 0 and 2 3s. And also, I think early on we saw some 4 eyes that you were able to run.
I love it against 4 eyes. The play side is easy on 4 eyes. The backside can get a little tricky, but again, if you send the guard right up to the backer, as long as the tackle doesn't completely lose, he can lose. He doesn't have to move the guy an inch. And as a matter of fact, he can get driven back, and the play hits quick enough that it'll still be a successful football play. Incidentally, Coach, I was looking through. I've gotten some of Coach Chip's materials, and I was looking through some of your guys' tweaks to buck. If you haven't checked out the GPS, coaches, I really think you're missing out. It has every possible thing you can imagine, every little tweak, drills, everything. It is really an impressive body of work, and I've enjoyed pecking my way through it and getting some wrinkles and some different things like that on it. But it has all those type of things, all those answers and stuff like that, because like people will always say, the devil's in the details. You can see somebody draw it up, but you got to know the ways to fix the problem. I've always enjoyed listening to Kenny Simpson and some of those guys talk about ways they fix issues because they don't want somebody to be able to take them out of the play. And power counter, we feel like no matter what we're going to run, a lot of times we're going to be able to run very, very successfully. There has been the occasional situation where we get a nose. We're like, this is probably not going to be a great deal, and we'll take it out of the game plan for that week. But been a really high average play for us for a number of years.
So when you say take it out, it's not because the play is not necessarily a good play. It's just because they have a physical advantage at some point.
Exactly.
Yeah,
exactly.
Like they got a dog playing nose, or
And we'll coach our center. You can lose. All you got to do is beat him to the spot. Take that step and get there. Okay, he drives you back, but you're in front of him. We'll still be okay. So we have found ways for it to be successful against. There's some noses we're like, nah, we're not. I'm not going to mess with that. But more often than not, it's in the game plan every week.
We used to reach when we were old triple option back in the 80s, where like they were running inside veer or outside veer to the right. So the backside guard, tackle, in the center We used to, our scoop block, our goal was 1 foot. They were going to be 1 foot high. Our aiming point on our scoops was right below the play side knee, right at the top of their shin bone. And they were trying to get their helmet, get their backside ear hole on the outside of that guy's knee and get their shoulder pads to right below the knee. And even if that guy is trying, like, he's better than you, and he's going to push you down. But now you've gotten your body there, and he's got to step over you or go around you. Plus, if you're the center, you got the guard and tackle coming low.
Absolutely.
And you're taking, and nowadays that technique would work better nowadays than it did back in the 80s, because everybody is playing so high because they all want to get after the quarterback.
Absolutely.
You know, that's the one thing I've seen in football the last 10 to 20 years is how high people are playing. And I've seen teams, and some of your more effective small schools are the ones that run old school stuff because they're still playing like it's 1978 or 1988.
And they got great pad level.
Yeah. You know, I was talking to a guy yesterday. I can't remember if it was Twitter or it was one of the Facebook things. And they were talking about, it was a drill, and they said, low man wins. And I said, yeah, but I said, so I took it and I froze it, took a screenshot of it and showed them where the rep was won and where the rep was lost. I said, look at the guy on defense. His hips are a good foot lower than the offensive tackle's hips. And the offensive tackle got put on his bootay.
And that was stuff that I saw in your O-line manual too. That was really helpful. I'm an O-line guy, so I love seeing all that stuff in there. Believe it or not, I was a 5'7" center. My senior year offensive line was the right tackle was 6'3", the right guard was 6'4", 5'7" in the middle at center, 6'3" and 6'4". So I was
I bet you gave the photographer trying to frame that picture. He goes, "Has everybody got a Coke crate y'all can put him on?"
Yeah, I needed one. I'll tell you.
Coach, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you doing this, and thank you so much for plugging the system and understand what Coach Collette's saying. Coach Collette got everything. He got all four. He got all four of the premium resources. But what he was saying, y'all, in the system, Coach Chip has no illusions that somebody is going to buy that system and run it exactly like it is, because there's so much in it. And it all complements each other that you can get ideas from it. And
it was system and book. I loved reading the backstory on different things. That was that part was probably equally as enjoyable for me. Some of those things there. The system is phenomenal. And I enjoy hearing the coaching stories about why we did this, what we decided to do here. I think that stuff's really, really interesting too.
Well, that's what I was trying to do, is because I was always a why guy. You know, I would tell young coaches toward the end of my career, and I would say, I wonder why they do that. And they would say, why does it matter? And I said, if you find out their motivation, then that gives you an idea of how you can counter it. Anyway, that's why I put that in the book, why we did things, you know, the motivation.
Well, I enjoyed that aspect of it a ton. Unfortunately, I got to go teach class now. So,
well, I need to edit this thing, and that's going to be the hard part. This was so much fun. Thanks for being on. That's Cody Collett. Look in the show description, down in the comments. I'll have his email, and I'll have his 2 Twitter handles. You got the Prescott High School one and the Blue and Gold Gridiron Report, right?
Gridiron Show. Yep.
Gridiron Show. That's it. That's it. I'll have it right down there. I'll have it right in there. I promise, because I've got it written down.
Well, Coach, I appreciate it always. Anytime, I love to come talk ball with you. So anytime, thank you very much.
Hey, listen here. To quote somebody else that spent some time in Arizona, I'll be your Huckleberry. All right, Coach, have a great one.
You as well, sir.
Okay, coaches, that's it for this very long episode of Football Talk with Coach Chip. Don't forget, you have an opportunity to support Football Talk with Coach Chip at buymeacoffee.com/Coach Chip. Buymeacoffee.com/Coach Chip. I guarantee you, put a note in there if you did it because of this episode, and I'll be sure to share that cup of coffee with Coach Colette. I sure do appreciate him doing that for us. here on Football Talk with Coach Chip. Don't forget free resources, but they're only available to those who subscribe. Be sure you subscribe to Football Talk with Coach Chip and have your choice of 54 right now as we count free resources available to you. All you got to do is ask for them, and I will send them your way as attachments. Also, I'm available to help you out, be your analyst, if you will. I'll do a Google Meet with you, just like I did one with Coach Colette, except it won't be for the channel unless you want it to be. Over 40 years of experience is an email away. All you got to do is hit me up at seagle.chip@gmail.com. If you're not too far away, I'll come visit you. All right, let me know if you liked it. Let me know in the comments down below. Let me know through email at seagle.chip@gmail.com. You can contact Coach Colette at colettepc@gmail.com, and you can see his Twitter/X handles, Prescott Football and Prescott FB, and the BG Gridiron Show. And they have a great podcast. He and Coach Brusso do a super job with their podcast. But again, let me know how you like the guest coach series. That's 2 we've had so far. Coach Clint Humphrey came on with us a few episodes ago and did the Army offense, broke that down for us, their inside and outside zone concepts. And Coach Colette today with his breakdown of the G lead. I like the idea of doing a concept and just going whole hog for about 45 minutes, an hour into that concept. All right, that's it. Breaking down the G lead with Coach Cody Collett of Prescott, Arizona. Be sure you like the video, be sure you subscribe to the channel, and be sure you're always going to be elite. Be elite, y'all. Bye. All video clips contained on Football Talk with Coach Chip are meant for analysis, criticism, comment, teaching, and research by football coaches. We believe this falls under the fair use doctrine of the Copyright Act, Section 107.